Hi, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell, and I want to thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. In this video, I'm continuing my ongoing discussion on the philosophy of hip-hop. I've done several parts to my analysis of the philosophy of hip-hop. I've discussed keeping it real, grinding, being gangster, haters, I think maybe one or two more ideas, but the idea in the series in the philosophy of hip-hop is to invite people within the community who love the music, who are part of the music, who identify themselves as members of the hip-hop culture, to have a better understanding of what is the significance and the meaning behind some of these concepts in hip-hop. For me, these concepts, and this is just my interpretation, I'm not saying that this interpretation is right or wrong, but for me, these concepts in hip-hop help to shape the sense that hip-hop creates a community, right? It's a culture, right? And as a culture, as a community, like any social community, there are leaders, community leaders, right? So it might be the activist, or it might be the mayor, it might be the Good Samaritan, right? In hip-hop, right, as culture, as community, our leaders are the rappers, right? The rappers are the leaders of the culture of hip-hop. They run it. They really, in a very real sense, run it. So you can't really have an understanding of hip-hop culture without having an understanding into the minds of these men and women that rise to a position of power, really, and a position of prestige and status, and use that power, use that prestige, use that status to mold the community, right? That it's very important to understand that. So as a member of the culture, as a person who has, despite, what I do on 9 to 5, being an academic, despite being an academic, I don't look at it as being incompatible. Being an academic and being part of the hip-hop community as being problematic, because for me, that's who I am. That's who I really am. And I've already discussed this in my video on keeping it real. Part of the culture, a concept within hip-hop community that I find that even members, entrenched members, people who really know hip-hop, don't quite get it, right? Part of hip-hop community is built on this idea of hustling, to be a hustler. I want to do two things in this video. First, for people who really understand what hustling is, I want to make a distinction between grinding and hustling, because grinding and hustling aren't the same thing, right? To say that I'm grinding, which I've done a video on before, in the various levels of the grind, is not the same thing as saying that I'm hustling. Being a hustler and grinding are two different things. So I want to first make sure that I make a distinction between what is the grind, which I've already done a video on, and what it means to be a hustler, right? Or what's hustling, right? So two different things. The next thing that I want to do is, as I've done in all the previous videos, is I want to talk about the various levels, right? The various depths of meaning in a discussion of being a hustler, right? When I say I'm a hustler, when I say I'm hustling, what does that mean? So you can imagine that somebody says, "Hey man, yo man, I gotta hustle right now, man, and make this thing happen," right? That's something somebody might say, right? They might say, "Man, I'm hustling right now, man. I gotta make this happen, man. I gotta get this thing going, man. I'm hustling." What does it mean to say that I'm hustling? It's not the same as saying I'm grinding, right? Remember, in the analysis of grinding, when we really got into the depth of it, we realized that grinding was really a discussion on satisfaction. Can you attain satisfaction and the various levels of satisfaction? Hustling isn't about satisfaction, right? Hustling isn't about satisfaction. When I'm hustling, it's not that I'm trying to attain satisfaction. There's no sense in which a hustle involves satisfaction. Now, grinding and hustling are hand in hand, right? But one isn't like the other. So, I mean, really, what does that mean? What does that mean? What does it mean to talk about being a hustler, grinding? Well, it's important to understand that, first of all, you can't, for me, talk about hustling without acknowledging Ross, right? Rick Ross. I mean, I'm from South Florida. I went to high school in Cooper City, right, in Fort Lauderdale. I finished up my bachelor's at FIU when I was living in Homestead, right? So I lived in Broward, I've lived deep down south in Homestead, and now I'm back in Fort Lauderdale. So I mean, I'm from this city, so I know this city, and in a sense, I got a rep for my city, right? So I might do another video on a side note on what it means to rep, right? Set repping and repping for your city, stuff like that, because that also is, now that I think about it, that's essential to what it is to be within the community. You rep your city, but that's an aside. So in a sense, I got a rep for Rick Ross because I'm from Fort Lauderdale, Miami. I've lived in both communities, and I know what it means to be a hustler, right? So Ross drops, I don't remember when he drops it. It was, a couple years back. Every day I'm hustling. Every day. So he drops Every Day I'm Hustling, and it's an epic song. It's like, and the thing is like, Rick Ross, he might have had some stuff out before that, but that was like his first main commercial song, and it was a classic, right? He drops a classic his first time around, right? So, okay, Every Day I'm Hustling, that's huge. It's huge, right? Not only does he drop a classic, his first, right off the bat, he comes out, he's like, hey, I'm Rick Ross, I got Every Day I'm Hustling, it's an anthem, everybody, the community loves it. But he does a whole verse, and we in the community know this, regular people might not know this, but he does a whole verse paying homage to Jay-Z, right, with 22s, right? Jay-Z did an album, a track called 22 Twos, and Rick Ross plays on that in Every Day I'm Hustling. He does it quite a bit, 22s, da-da-da, so on and so forth. So you have to think, well, okay, Rick Ross does a song called Every Day I'm Hustling, right? And it's an anthem. The whole point of the song is to talk about what it means to be a hustler. And he dedicates almost an entire verse in that song to Jay-Z. So that got me to thinking, well, what's Jay-Z talking about, right? There must be something in Jay. We all know what it is, right? It's just him being Jay-Z. But there must be something in Jay that made Ross, in his first song, in his introduction to the world, devote basically a whole verse paying homage and respect to Jay-Z, which I thought was cool, and people in the community thought was cool. What was it? Well, for me personally, and as I said in these videos, I'm not saying that this is fact, right? I'm just saying, as a scholar, I can do analysis very, very well. As a member of the culture, I understand what's being said, and I'm going to discuss that in this video explicitly. So I'm in a very unique position where I can really sort of do stuff that most people can't do. I can do both things. My favorite song of all time, of all hip-hop songs of all time, and this is just my personal opinion, is Jay-Z's You Don't Know. I remember, I don't know when he dropped it, but I remember I was in commute to, this is when I was living at Homestead, I was in commute on 117 going north to campus, and I would be listening, I'd be pumping, I was living in Pirine, as they call it, Pirine, right? I was living in Pirine at the time, but I was commuting to FIU, and I was bumping Jay-Z's You Don't Know, so it must have been like 2000, 2001, right around September 11 attacks or whatever. So I'm listening to You Don't Know, and I'm like, yo, this song is a consistent loop. I'm like, this is, not only wordplay, because Jay's good for that, but he just goes crazy on the verse, right? And Jay's got the whole last section of the verse. Jay goes, I'll sell ice in the winter, I sell fire in hell, I am a hustler, baby, right? I'm a hustler, baby, I'll sell water to a whale. And later I'm going to discuss sort of the significance of that, right? I sell ice in the winter, I sell fire in hell, I am a hustler, baby, I'll sell water to a whale. So obviously this track comes before, this track, You Don't Know, comes before Rick Ross's Every Day I'm Hustling. And in Every Day I'm Hustling, Ross takes almost a verse to pay homage to Jay-Z's 22 Twos, right? So there is a sense in which, Ross and Jay-Z and the whole structure of my analysis of Hustlin' is going to come from looking at Jay-Z's verse, not in detail, in You Don't Know, which for me is the greatest rap album of all time. And on a side note, Jay did a remix with M.O.P., and my favorite rap line of all time comes out of that. Jay-Z says something, this has nothing to do with hustling, I just thought it was gangster. Jay-Z said, I done forgot more than you ever learned. I will make your home a permanent urn, nigga. I was like, oh, to say that I forgot, and he doesn't write his rhymes, so the fact that he's thrown away millions of dollars worth of potential albums and sales is just floss, it's just sick. But, so there is a sense in which, in order to understand, in order for me to be able to teach you about hustling, I'm going to use Jay-Z's You Don't Know and Rick Ross's Every Day I'm Hustling to introduce you to this concept. As I've done before, I'm going to talk about various layers of the concept, various levels of the concept, right? Not because I think it's only 3 levels to the concept, or why is it every time I do this I'm talking about different levels of the concept, but because I think it's a good way to introduce you to the idea, right? Let's start real surface, then we see what's beneath the surface, then we really get deep on what it means to talk about hustling. And for members of the community, what I'm saying is pretty much, I'm adding a little bit something new, but it's mostly there on the surface level. By the time we get to the end of the video, I should be saying stuff that even people within the community never thought of, right? Or else why do these videos? Alright, so the question becomes, what's this surface level of hustling? When we're talking about hustling, what does it mean to talk about hustling within the rap world, but also within society, right? Because in all of these videos, what I've done consistently is I've talked about the use or the function of the concept within the rap world, within hip-hop, but also how that concept affects the culture, right? How it affects society outside, right? How it affects the ghetto, how it affects project, how it affects people who are impoverished and oppressed. You can't really properly be said to have an understanding of what hustling is, right? And as I said, it's not the grind, it's not this effort. Without understanding that to be a hustler, to talk about hustling, you're talking about the ability to transform something, right? Hustling is, the first level is that hustling is a transformative action, right? If I'm engaged in hustling, and it doesn't have to be drug hustling, right? But I'll give you both examples. If I call myself a hustler, if I say what I'm doing is hustling, then at a very surface level, you are transforming or converting something, right? The idea of converting something, the idea of saying that I've transformed this thing, I've converted this thing, means that the process, the energy that it took to convert that thing, the energy it took to transform that thing is hustling. Hustling is the force. Hustling is the energy that transforms things, right? Hustling is, in a sense, like the heat on a pot that will cause water in the pot to bubble, right? The heat is hustling in a sense, on a ghetto sense, right? The heat is transforming the water. The water is changing what it is to become something different, right? The source of that transformation, the source of that conversion is the heat, right? That, in a sense, that visual example will give you an idea of what it means to talk about hustling. What does it mean when I say I'm hustling? Well, it means that I have an ability to convert something, right? I have this ability, hopefully if you're good at it, a unique ability to go about this transformative process, right? Okay, I sort of understand what that means, but how does that relate to the music? Show me in the music where that is. Well, Ross says in his song, in Every Day I'm Hustling, he goes, I got distribution, so I'm converting the word, right? I got distribution, so I'm converting, right? This idea of conversion, this idea of transformation. I got distribution, so I'm converting the work. And the question goes, well, what does all that mean? The difficulty with talking about hustling, the extreme difficulty about talking about hustling, is that hustlers always communicate in code, right? We never, hustlers, and I think of myself, as a hustler. I had to convert, I had to transform who it is that I was as a young kid, because my pops, I can't even really call him my pops, because the sperm donor, he bounced when I was like 12, right? And I'm the eldest of 6 kids. So I had to redefine myself as an individual at a very, very young age and give up, being a regular kid and start my grind, right? And it started my grind. I had to incorporate a lot of hustle in my grind, right, to become who I am today. There's a scene in Ross's video where he's got kids selling M&Ms on a block, right? He's got kids washing cars and stuff, and I used to do exactly that. I used to wash cars, right? I used to wash cars. Shout out to Gene for giving me the job. But I used to wash cars from 12 till I was like 17, 18, till I went to college, and it's hard work all day. But I was hustling, right? I had to make some money, right? So the conversion, this process of conversion, this process of transformation, at a very surface level, you're transforming. I don't want to go Marxist, but you're transforming something, right? Something, either your talent or some product, into something that can be sold for money, right? Conversion, the consequence, the end state, the goal of transformation for the hustler is to transform whatever this thing is to get paid, right? So in the video, you see little boys selling M&Ms. They're selling those M&Ms to make money. And then Ross, like, he goes and he sees a prostitute that he's tricking, and he goes to her and she gives him money. He's transforming her body to make him money, right? He goes up to one of the D-boys and they break him off some paper, right? He goes up to the car wash guy and they break him off some paper. He's used their services, right? He's used members within the community, what he's depicting in the video, to transform those things, car washing, women, M&Ms, into money, right? So, I mean, people in the community sort of got that, right? That's why it rang home to me, because I'm like, wow, I washed cars for like 7 years, working hard work, because, you know, my old man, he was a punk. So, you know, I had to man up and do what I needed to do in order to take care of my brothers and sisters and my mom, right? Take that money, break it off, and go shopping, grocery shopping for my family, take care of my brothers and sisters. It made me the man I am today. So when you really think about it, this idea of conversion and transformation is to get money, right? I'm converting the work. Now, you know, I'm not gonna, because it's the second hip hop artists say this. I mean, obviously everybody's heard Every Damn Hustlin'. I really don't think that people understand what Ross is talking about, right? When he says I'm converting the work, work is code. Obviously, everybody knows this, right? Work is code for drugs, right? I'm converting the work. And the question is, what does he mean he's converting the work, right? What does he mean he's converting the work? How do you go about converting work? And what is the work, right? What is he talking about? It's like, well, I mean, the work obviously is cocaine, right? He wants to convert the work, right? I want to transform cocaine is what he's saying, right? In that line. Right? And everybody knows this. I'm not saying anything that nobody knows. I mean, obviously, law enforcement people know all of this. The hip-hop community knows all of this. The only people that don't know this is white America, right? For the most part, they think they know, but they don't know. Or middle America, that's any color, right? They don't really know this. But as I said, I'm from Miami, and I'm from the streets, so I know what he's saying. Right? Instead of saying I got distribution, he says I got distribution, so I'm converting the work. What he's saying is, you know, I have chains to sell cocaine, so I'm transforming this cocaine. And how is what's the transformation of this cocaine? Whip it real hard. Whip it real hard, right? Whip it real hard. I laugh that the fact that people are still saying whip it real hard, and they don't, even to this day, people don't know what they're saying. It's amazing. It's like the hip-hop community, we are an extremely intelligent community, because it's like people get duped every day. There's a sucker every day, right? And a hustler preys on that sucker. Like, how is it that you're gonna beep Ross for all the profanity he says, but then you got I got distribution, so I'm converting to work? That's cool. And whip it real hard. I mean, whip it real hard, but don't y'all understand what that means, right? Well, if he's converting to work, what he's saying is, remember, at the surface level, you're trying to transform, you're trying to convert some product, M&Ms, car washes, prostitutes, drugs, in order to make money, right? This is like the traditional Marxian flip, right? The flip between commodity, cash for more commodity, right? You have a commodity to generate more capital. This is capitalism at its finest. It really is. When you whip it real hard, what you're whipping is the work, right? What you're whipping is the work. You're whipping what they call the soft, right? And you take powdered cocaine, soft, and you make it hard. You turn it into crack cocaine, right? I'm converting the work by whipping it, right? So the whip, to say that I'm whipping it, is to say that I'm converting soft cocaine into crack cocaine, right? I've transformed soft cocaine into crack cocaine. And that's the hustle. Because in a sense, in order for me to be able to whip it real hard, I can't, you know, everybody can't. First of all, nobody even knows, I mean, people know, all of us in the community, especially here in Miami, know what Ross is talking about. The law enforcement agents know what Ross is talking about. But most people don't understand what he's saying, right? When I'm whipping the work, right? When I'm whip it real hard, whip it real hard, I'm transforming, in a sense, soft cocaine into hard cocaine, into powdered cocaine into crack cocaine, right? So that hard is code for crack cocaine. That soft That soft white, that butter white, is code for soft cocaine, powder cocaine, right? So he's hustling. He's hustling because not only has he found the distributions and converted to work, but he recognized that he's whipping it. He whips it real hard, right? He's whipping it hard. He's serving cocaine, or at least that's what he's saying he's doing in his music, right? So as far as the community is concerned, the community on that level is also recognizing, listen, you know, if I'm not a D-boy, right, and I'm not going to do, I know what Ross is saying, right? I know what he's saying, and I'm not going to go out there and sell cocaine, but I recognize that he took something and he made it into something else. So I might go to Costco's and I might go buy, 4 or 5 cases of M&Ms, right? And I might convert that work. My work might be those M&Ms. I might convert that work into money, right? Or I might be a good lyricist. So as I said in my grinding video, press up a couple of CDs, put out some CDs. Those CDs become my work, and I convert that work into money, right? So on that surface level, what I'm doing is I'm transforming. Right? I'm transforming whatever that product is, right? Whether it's drugs, whether it's M&Ms, whether it's whatever it might be, anything that can, and everything can be commodified. Anything that can be commodified, I'm transforming that thing into money, right? I'm using my talents to transform that thing into money. There is a sense, so that's the first level, right? There is a sense, however, to be able to do that, right? To be able to do that, and to be able to do it in such a way, it's like a heist movie, right? It's like, I love heist movies. Like you watch Ocean's 11, Ocean's 12, or whatever. You'll watch, one of the great, what was that new one that just came out? Trigger, or whatever it was called, with T.I. and the other dudes were in the movie. It's like, a heist movie is great. Why? Because you're committing the heist in plain view of open public. There's no secrecy involved. It's like the greatest way to keep a secret is to have it right on display, right? So to be able to have an album and it's, have everybody saying whip it real hard and not understand what you're talking about is genius, right? There's a certain intellect that's involved in being a hustler, right? And that's the second level, right? So the first level is this idea of sort of transformation, this conversion, right? You find something that you can take and you can transform it, you convert it into something else to make money, right? So, this, and as I said, this happens all the time in the ghetto. We, as ghetto community, as oppressed people, have learned how to take things that are otherwise useless and find value in it. I remember as a young kid going to the secondhand used store with my mom, and she'd buy me used clothes, and I'd be wearing used clothes, but I would try and rack it like nobody else could rack it, right? They'll put the plastic over the couch, right? Why are they putting the plastic over the couch? Because they want to preserve the couch, right? We might be impoverished. And I actually saw Anthony Bourdain. Shout out to Anthony Bourdain. He just did his new season, and he went to Haiti, and he said a comment that I thought which was perfect. It was amazing that he said it. Bourdain was like, yeah, the Haitians are poor, but they're really, really clean, right? And that's the ghetto, right? We don't have anything, but the little that we do have, it's immaculate, right? That's that idea, right? What we're doing is we're trying to transform the fact that we are poor into a recognition that despite the fact that we're poor, we're at least going to be clean, and whatever we can find to make some money, believe we're going to utilize every single thing. There is no waste, right? There is no waste in the ghetto, right? In the ghetto, whatever you got, believe it, you're going to eat the ham, the neck, the bone, the feet, the toes, the snout, the ears, right? You're going to convert that. You're going to convert or transform those scrap pieces into something that will actually give you some sustenance, right? So on that first level, you got to give a huge shout out to Ross for his ingenuity. The second level really plays on the mind of the artist, whoever this artist is, be it Jay-Z or be it Ross. And Jay has he has a phenomenal way of sort of encasing his rhymes in layers and layers and layers of thought, right? Jay says in You Don't Know, the favorite track, he goes, that's another difference that's between me and them. I smarten up, open the market up, right? I'll say that again. So Jay-Z goes in You Don't Know, he says, that's another difference, right? So he's making a distinction between me and somebody else, right? That's another difference that's between me and them. I smartened up, right? And because I smartened up, I opened the market up, right? What is he talking about in that track? What does he mean when he's saying I smartened up, opened the market up? He recognizes, right, as Ross was saying, that, well, you know, and then before that, in the previous line, he goes, I can make 40 on a brick selling drugs, right? I can make 40 on a brick, but one rhyme could beat that. Because, I mean, Jay-Z's probably charging at that time maybe $500,000, you know, $1 million for a verse, right? So he's saying, and at that time, like in 2000, 2001, let's say cocaine was going for, a kilo of cocaine was going for $20,000, he can make $40,000. He could double the work, like Ross was saying, right? He can make 40 off a brick. Obviously, the profit is built into that 40, right? So him and Ross are definitely see eye to eye on that level. But then Jay goes, in the preceding verse, he goes, that's the other difference that's between me and them, right? Why am I going to do that? Why am I going to continue to be hustling in the streets when I could take my hustle to another level, right? Why am I going to try and sell cocaine, right? Why am I going to whip soft and hard when I could be at this level selling music, right? I can make way more money selling music than I can ever be in the streets. So he leaves the streets behind him, right? So he's like, that's it. That hustle is done. I'm on to another hustle. The transition from a street level hustle to a corporate hustle is exactly the same hustle though, right? It's the same recognition, right? It's that what I'm doing is I have to be smarter than my competition, right? On a street level hustle, right? You think Rick Ross is the only person, at least in the songs, right? Do you think Rick Ross in his songs is the only person that knows about whipping soft and hard? Everybody and their mom knows that. That's nothing new. It might be new to you, but it's not new to us. We've known this for years, right? Turn soft and hard. How do you do that? You whip it, okay? Jay-Z was talking about that back in 2000, 2001, right? But what Jay-Z did is he's like, I can make 40 off a brick, but one rhyme could beat that. I'm onto another level hustle, right? How do you move? How do you transition from this surface level hustle to a deeper hustle, right? Obviously, with respect to rap and the drug game and sort of the dark side, an illegal hustle to a more legal hustle, a more refined hustle, but also a deeper hustle, right? Because a hustle at the second level, obviously whatever money, the incentive of hustling at the first level is money. The incentive hasn't changed at the second level. You still want to get money, but why is it that you can make more? Why is it that I can make 40 off a brick, but one rhyme could beat that? How were you able to do that? You can't do that unless that's another difference that's between me and them. I smartened up and opened the market up, right? In investment world, I know this lecture is probably, it's deep, right? Because it's encoded and deeply encrypted, the music. But this is like, for, you know, suburbs, middle America, this is what they call diversification of your portfolio, right? Your investment portfolio should be diversified, to be technical. You shouldn't put all your money in investment in stocks, all your money in investment in bonds, all your money into high risk, high yield, all your money into, you know, you should diversify. You should diversify your portfolio. Have a little bit that you invest in real estate. Have a little bit that you invest in your local community. Have a little bit that you invest in bonds. That way, if one thing collapses, your whole portfolio, all of your money isn't destroyed. You've diversified, right? What Jay is saying, and you don't know, is that that's another difference that's between me and them. I smartened up, right? I recognized that I had to open the market up. I got to do a little bit of everything, right? So in the song, you don't know, he's like, yo, who would ever thought Jay would sell clothing, right? So he's selling clothing. He's got the rap, right? He's got his albums. He's got his commercial deals with HP and all these other things that he's doing. So he's trying to get as much money as he could possibly get by opening the market up. And how do you open the market up is that you recognize that, in a sense, I am a representation of hip-hop, right? Jay represents us. When I look at Jay-Z, I see myself, right? That's why for certain artists like Jay, whatever he puts out, like I couldn't even comprehend bootlegging a Jay-Z CD. That had never happened. Also because I'm in a different state in my life where I can have the money to go spend $15, $20 on a Jay-Z CD. I'm going to support him just because I like what he does, so I'm going to spend that money, right? Similarly with Ross, you know, Ross, he's a member of my community. He represents Miami. I'm gonna support Ross and put my money into what he's doing. With respect to the hustle, what you got to recognize is there really isn't a sense, right? And I'll wait till the phone finishes before I continue. There really isn't a sense in which you can hustle or be said to be a hustler, a real deep level hustler, if you're stupid, right? I used to love watching The Wire on HBO, and they showed sort of the drug game, and what you end up finding is a lot of the high level drug bosses. These guys could be, they could be economics professors, or they know about. They're very, very intelligent people, right? To think that hustlers on the block are just ignorant people who are motivated by killing and getting money isn't true, right? There's a lot of intelligence that's required to convert the work. Obviously, there's less intelligence required to convert soft cocaine into hard cocaine, right? But there is intelligence. You do need to know what that means and how to do it, right? So there's intelligence required to convert the work. If you have the intelligence on a first level to convert the work, then what you recognize is you can make 40 off a brick, right? Something that costs, 20,000, you can double that because you've diluted the work, obviously by mixing baking soda into the soft cocaine, right? So you have more product that you can sell now. You've doubled your money. It's an investment. You buy low, you sell high, just like a portfolio, right? This is the whole idea. In the ghetto, though, people don't have 401ks and 401(b)s and bonds and stocks that they can invest, right? They invest in the street, right? But everybody isn't investing in cocaine in the drug in the ghetto, right? You have people who, like me. I had people who invested in the community, right? They had a little car wash. I go over to the car wash. I wash cars all day. I get enough money to buy my sneakers and my clothing that I want. I get enough money to help my mom out, buy groceries. He contributes to the community. He gets some of his money. It all works, right? There's a certain intelligence needed, required to be able to do that. I remember, on a quick side note, Gene, the guy that I was working for when I was a little kid, had to go to the Pembroke Pines municipality building and get approval from the mayor and stuff to be able to have his car wash set up, and it's still there to this day, and I still got mad love for him to this day because he was able to give me an opportunity as a young kid to be able to convert my work, right? Not drugs, but my actual labor, my actual physical work into money. And I recognized at 12 years old that I can make money, right? I'm not going to do it illegally. I have the ability to make money for myself and support those that I want and those that I love, right? So on a deeper level, you have to recognize that there's a serious amount of intelligence that's required to convert work, legal or illegal work, right? Hustlers aren't stupid people, right? To be a hustler, you really got to be intelligent. And I'm not just talking about, regular intelligence, street intelligence. You really have to be intelligent, right, in order to convert this work, quote unquote, right? And that's what Jay says, right? That's another difference that's between me and them. I smartened up, opened the market up. So, first level, conversion transformation. Second level, intelligence, right? The intelligence needed to convert and transform regular mundane stuff into stuff that's worth value. But at its deepest level, it's that idea of value that's important, right? For me, as an academic, it's this level that I try to hover on, this level at all times, right? This level of value, because again, and you don't know, Jay-Z has, the whole song is insane. But Jay says in the last verse of You Don't Know, he says, I sell ice in the winter, I'll sell fire in hell. I am a hustler, right? I am a hustler, baby. I'll sell water to a whale. Now you got to think about this and also take it in the context of what we were talking about, intelligence and conversion and so on, right? If Jay-Z says in the verse that I'll sell ice in the winter, well, obviously it doesn't make sense to talk about selling ice in the winter, right? Why? Because ice is abundant in wintertime, right? There's snow everywhere. Who in the world is going to be able to sell ice in the winter? No, I'm not going to buy ice from you because there's all this ice out here for free. I'll sell fire in hell. Hell is a place where there's a lot of fire. Why in the world would I sell fire in hell? There's fire all around me for free. I am a hustler, baby. I'll sell water to a whale, right? Why would a whale buy water from you? Water's free. I'll do it, is what Jay's saying, right? At his deepest level, right? At his deepest level, and I got to give Jay props for this because it wasn't just about work conversion. He took it to the deepest level it could go. I'm Jay-Z. I could take something that you could get for free, right? I could take something, and he's talking to me, right? I'll take something that you could get for free. Dr. Campbell, you know you could bootleg my album. You know you can. People do it. I'm sure people do. But I'm going to sell you something that you can get for free. And what ends up happening, I end up buying his album. I'm going to support him, right? There's artists that I will support, right? So when I sell ice in the winter, I sell fire in hell. I am a hustler, baby. I'll sell water to a well. It's me. It's not the fact that it's, I just scooped up some ice that you could have scooped up. It's that I scooped up the ice. I've contributed something to this product that otherwise wasn't there. And what has happened, though he doesn't say this, is he's infusing, right? He's infusing value into the product, right? Jay-Z is giving his value, his intelligence is built into that product, so that when I buy a Jay-Z album, right, I'm buying into his intellect, right? I want to be able to listen to his music, not just to be entertained, right? There's a huge level when I'm just vegging out, I don't want to think about anything, I just have his music on and I'm bumping it. But there is a sense in which, for example, when I was listening to You Don't Know, where I remember there's a few verses where it's like the second I hear it, I know I want to memorize that verse by the end of the day, so I'll just play it on loop until I memorize that verse verbatim. Right? I want to study that verse. It's like me doing my lectures on whatever I'm doing on Logic, right? He knows that there are people out there in the community that really want to study what he's saying, right? So what Jay-Z's saying is that on a very, very deep level, and it's not just Jay-Z, but what rappers on a very, very deep level, on a masterful art level, are saying is that despite the fact that there can be an abundance of something, right, I can still add value where there is an abundance. That's what's really being said. And I'm not going to go into it too deep, right, because I want to keep this sort of general. In basic economics, economics is built on value. The value of something is built on scarcity. The more scarce something is, the more valuable it is, right? Diamonds are valuable because they're so rare, they're so scarce. If there were as many diamonds in the world as there is sand, diamonds would be absolutely worth nothing. Sand, on the other hand, is completely valueless. Why? Because sand is a diamond. There's sand everywhere, right? There's sand everywhere. So because there's sand everywhere, it's valueless. What Jay-Z's saying, right, is that I can make sand as valuable as a diamond, right? I can sell ice in the winter. I can sell fire in hell. I can sell water to a well. And if you think about this, this is what happens. You go on a trip with your significant other to Morocco, and you had a great time, and you walk out onto the beach, and you take up a little souvenir case and you scoop up some of that sand, and now that sand is in that container. That sand is now extremely valuable. It's exactly the same sand as was there. But that sand is a representation of your trip. That sand represents something that it never represented before. It embodies, it encapsulates your vacation. That sand now has valuable because you have infused value into something that was otherwise meaningless. When Jay-Z says, I'm a hustler, baby, I'll sell water to a well, what he's saying is that I am the source of value. I am the one that gives these things value, right? And in a sense, it's like, in a sense, you're just like, yo, I mean, that's crazy. That's crazy. The mind to be able to recognize that, right? To be able to recognize that value is only on a traditional model understood in terms of scarcity. The more scarce something is, the more valuable it is. And to completely flip that on its head and to say, no, I can make something valuable when it's completely redundant, when it's everywhere, where everybody can access it. Whereas ice in the winter, fire in hell, water in a well, that's what a hustler is. And he says, I am a hustler. So to think that Jay-Z doesn't get this is to disrespect the dude, because I'm not, like I said before, I'm not making this up. I'm taking this from the music. They put this out there before I did this video. Right? This video is possible because they put that out there. You might hear me and be like, oh yeah, it's true because Dr. Campbell said it and you're appealing to my credentials and my education, but they said it before I said it. Why aren't you listening to them? Why does it take somebody like me to come out and give these artists the respect and the credit that they deserve for being on the level that they're at? Why does it take me to do that, right? Everybody should recognize that it's not, I'm not saying this. I'm not manufacturing this story. This story is there for you to be seen. Right? Because it's in the community. Jay-Z, Rick Ross, they've already talked about this, right? On its deepest level, right, the hustler infuses value into otherwise worthless things, right? And I look at myself as a hustler, right? And I am a hustler, right? Because what I do is I try to take language, I try to take thought, I try to take, I try to take things that otherwise would be valueless and give it meaning. On that level, on the deepest level, it's like, yo, it's not even about the money anymore, right? It's not even about the money anymore. It's about the fact that I can do it. I am the type of person, not me specifically, but you should believe this, right? We, as people, are the type of people that have, in some sense, a capability of infusing value into otherwise meaningless things, right? This is what art is, right? The artist takes paint and paints something. The paint in and of itself, in buckets, separated in segmented buckets, it's nothing. It's worth, $3.15 or whatever it is. It's completely valueless. But the painting is valuable. I used to watch Heidi Klum's show. I forget what it was called. Heidi Klum had that. She had this design show where like designers, fashion designers would take fabric and they go to the local fabric store, buy $200 worth of fabric, and then sell that fabric in a dress for $25,000. They've converted the work. You feel me? Do you feel me? They've converted the work, right? They've taken fabric that anybody has access to. Anybody could go to the store and buy that fabric. But everybody doesn't have the intellectual ability to convert that fabric into what the artist can do, right? The real artist takes that fabric and does something that you and me can never do, right? I can go out and buy 100 yards of silk and cotton and rayon, but it would just be 100 yards of silk, cotton, and rayon because I sure don't know how to stitch, right? So it's not the thing. It's not the thing. It's the individual. It's what I am attributing to the work that makes it valuable, right? So at its deepest level, it's not even about the work anymore. It's not about the product, right? It's not, the product is dissipated at the deepest level. At the deepest level, it's about me and my ability to transform. Again, all of this is intertwined. First level, to transform this thing into something that is now valuable, right? And that is what art is, right? That is what the artist does. So when I hear an artist put a poem together, when I hear a rapper put a verse together, when I see an artist paint a mural or a picture, when I hear someone give an amazing speech, I sit in awe and respect because I recognize that they had to hustle to be able to do that. The only way that you do that, the only way you take something that's valueless and make it valuable, the only way that you take nothing and turning it into something, ice in the winter, fire in hell, right? The only way that you can still sell it, make it valuable, is if you have the intelligence that's required to do it. And for Jay-Z, for Ross, these guys understand the street. And much to Jay's credit, despite the fact that he's been out of the hustle, the illegal hustle for years, he never lost that part of him. He's very in touch. You can tell he's very in touch with that part of his life. And for members like me in the community, people, especially young black men who don't have fathers, all of us, none of us, I've heard Jay-Z talk about his relationship with his dad, me not having a father. We recognize that the streets become our father. The streets teach us how to hustle. The streets teach us how to make nothing into something. The streets teach us how to imbue and infuse value in otherwise valueless things. The streets teach us how to take something that's in abundance and to make money off of it despite the fact that it's in abundance, right? Because there is always a hustle to be had. There's always money to be made because you need it in order to survive. So on that level, I just wanted to, I want to sort of wrap up the discussion on the philosophy of hip-hop with this idea of hustling. And I want to just, give a shout out to the rap community and rap culture in general, because I sit in amazement every day. I sit in awe at the absolute brilliance, at the absolute intellectual brilliance of the rap community and rappers. And I want to start urging rappers to really continue taking it to that level, because we can't see this die, right? It can't just always be bubblegum pop music. It's fun and all, but it's like we really need to be serious about what we're doing while we're still entertaining, right? Like, as I said, I'm not trying to preach. I like to get crunk. I am from the South, but also there's a time and place for everything, right? And we all know that, right? There's a time and place for everything. So shout out to Jay, shout out to Ross, and thank you for taking the time to watch my videos. With that, I'm Dr. Jason J. Campbell. Have a good day.